Welcome here today, and it's great for me to be in the room with Errol van der Merwe and with Dave Butler. Just a quick introduction to Errol van der Merwe. Has been around in this information technology industry for over 40 years with vast experience from enterprise level business system up to smaller businesses as well. So really looking forward to Errol leading this conversation and asking some questions and having good coffee with you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Delian. And I'm looking forward to a very experienced campaigner in the systems space. Dave, nice to be talking to you today. And you and I have had a couple of conversations over the last couple of months. This is an interesting place to work and live. And one of the things I want to get into really early is the importance for businesses, whether they be small, medium or large, of having a single source of the truth when it comes to the data they keep. Because the alternative, and sadly, it doesn't matter how big or small they are, there always seems to be this growing audience of people that are happy to do critical stuff outside of the system.
Absolutely.
And one of the things you've been telling me are some of those horror stories.
Where my consultants come back with having looked at a customer, we go onto site quite often.
Yes.
And they come back and this company is running their business on Excel spreadsheets. And
And this is not necessarily a small company.
No, listed companies. And the thing is that it's not just one sheet, it's over a number of sheets, it's formulas behind formulas, and it's probably one person that has it on his laptop. And God forbid that something happens to that person, he gets hit by a bus or COVID or anything.
Yes.
And he's not even disgruntled. Can you imagine if he was disgruntled and he deleted that or deleted formulas?
Yes.
And these are spreadsheets that senior management are using to go and report to the board and such at the end of the month.
And so in your role as General Manager of Strategic Solutions at iPlan, when you understand exactly what the risk and the impact is of something like that happening in a working, productive, revenue-driven company, I'm sure you must just say like this.
I have my own problems where I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning sweating, but I can only imagine what the feeling that CEO of that company relying on Mr. X must feel like when he wakes up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So,
and why are people doing that?
Errol, I would put it down to that the system that they've chosen, the ERP system, it might be outdated. It might be that it doesn't have the breadth. So what they've done is they've probably gone out and looked for third-party systems that can actually cater for that extended breadth. And these systems aren't integrated. So one way of integrating it is to pull the data from both systems, pull it into an Excel, massage it, and try and report from that. But that's not actually the correct way of going about it. These systems that you choose, they should be chosen with that integration capability. And this is what iPlan is very good at. We send our consultants out there, they have a look at the pain that the people are having. This is, like I said, where we find these horror spreadsheets. And we then go and have a look, and you might have an existing ERP system that you want to keep. But let's look at integrating that we can get it all into a single source of truth, and that you can report from one single point, one single database. And there's some wonderful reporting tools out there. But if you don't have it all in one single database,
who knows how many versions of the truth you have, or whether in fact that version you have is absolutely accurate.
Exactly.
And I just want to confirm, when you talk about ERP systems, you're really talking about a system that has integrated modules that may stretch across finance and inventory and supply chain and manufacturing and others.
Exactly.
And I know, going back to our younger days, it was a common term, enterprise resource planning.
Yes.
But
MRP
today,
before that.
Yeah, probably much
Yeah.
more understandable today to just talk about systems in a business that are fully integrated. All the modules have a single source of data and they're talking to one another.
Exactly, and you're not going to find a silver bullet out there. It's one ERP system that's going to fit every single requirement you have in business. It's just not possible. You are going to have what you might consider a competitive advantage, an idea of a portion of the business that you maybe want on a different system, which is fine. This is what we do. We've gone out before where we've looked on, the customer, manufacturing customer. The ERP system that they picked did not extend to that competitive advantage for
And
them.
can I interrupt you? So was that initial pick a good pick? With
Yes,
a high degree of...
absolutely. It fitted about 90% of their requirement. So
Does it get better than that?
probably not, because like I said, you don't find a silver bullet that's going to fix everything in your business. So what we did is we put our consultants out there, and they looked at off-the-shelf products. They came up with a very well-written off-the-shelf product, good integration capabilities. We wrote the integration for them. They still got their information into a single source of truth, and they now have a competitive advantage above all of the other steel fabricators out there. And this is the type of good story that we like to tell, and this is what iPlan does. We could have written that in-house, but if you write a piece of software, we're not experts in that, in that specific niche. Yes. We'll go and look for it for you. But if we can't find it, iPlan is quite capable of writing that software for you. But we prefer to find it off the shelf.
Yeah. So you mentioned something very interesting about businesses waiting, and they have these 10, 15 Excel spreadsheets with formulas and on one person's computer. Why on earth do they wait so long before they understand and realize the risk with that, in your opinion?
I don't think they actually know that there are systems out there. Maybe they don't even go and look. Maybe they don't have the experienced people to go and have a look for these third-party systems. They might not know that integrating these third-party systems to their ERP system is quite simple if those third-party systems have proper APIs, interfaces. So I think it's just that's where we come in and educate them as well. And so I think it's a bit of education and probably a lack of having that experience of going and saying, look, this is a very good system. Does it fit your requirements? Yes, it does. Does it have interface capabilities? Yes, it does. Can we draw all of this information into one system that you can report from it, that you can actually get accurate figures from? Yes, it does. Bang. It's going to cost so much. Are you prepared to go with that cost? Does it fit your budget? Then it is, one more portion that is catered for outside that 90% that is a fit.
So they just don't know what they just don't know. And I just heard the word cost. So when people say business systems, I mean, one of the first things that happens is it's very complicated and it's cost. So you now said it's not so complicated if you know what you're doing and you know how you're working with it.
Correct.
The cost, I think, is one thing as well that people worry about. Is it really still such a very, very expensive thing to do?
Any ERP system, any system is costly. Look, they've got to keep looking at the horizon to see in that niche market what they foresee as being a beneficial add-on to their product to grow it, to sell it to more people, to broaden their breadth of the product. So they keep looking at those horizons and they keep adding to their product. So they are costly. But the benefits of bringing those products in and being able to leverage off them to get maybe a competitive advantage, maybe to reduce, not in this country, we're not looking to reduce overheads in form of people, but it's something that companies have to keep in mind.
Yes.
So there's a number of factors that you look at. Maybe you don't have the capability of growing your site. So maybe you have to look at reducing resources. So by implementing this piece of software, do I reduce it from 10 people capturing quotes to 3 people capturing quotes?
Okay, I think that's
So,
interesting.
it's you have to weigh it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And, talking to what you've been saying now, you have to, in considering an integrated solution or an ERP solution, have to consider the risk of not doing that.
Absolutely.
We started off by saying, if a bus runs over somebody, or people become very ill, and I've seen that in some of my customers during this time, when 3 members of a 5-member team were all ill at the same time, the disruptive effect was absolutely enormous.
Absolutely.
And that is a big risk to businesses. So having this one version of the truth, even if it incorporates some best practice third-party software products, so that there's one source of data,
Absolutely.
reduces the risk of relying on a person who owns the Excel spreadsheet and 20 layers of complex formulas, because make no mistake, Excel can do some magic.
Absolutely, but it's the person putting those.
powerful, yeah.
It's the person putting those formulas in.
Yes. And
how
I know
accurate are the formulas?
You and I spoke earlier about, and we've seen that, you get a data sheet from somebody to look up something, and it's still trying to figure out the data in the base sheet,
Absolutely.
which is now 500 miles from you and with no connectivity. These things go wrong with Excel. So Excel on its own is a remarkable tool, but it's not a sensible strategy in the integrated systems environment. And I also just wanted to pick up about the ability to integrate third-party solutions. That integration capability has become much better over time. There's so many open interfaces today that really talk to one another.
Yes.
Which wasn't the case in the 90s and the 2000s necessarily, when I was very involved in the enterprise system space. It was complicated. We wrote most of the interfaces.
Yes, and I think products that don't have a proper, decent interface are going to start falling behind. The reason is we have a policy in iPlan. We do not update data in a database with direct, like SQL updates. We use the tools that are provided by the software house.
Okay.
So if they've got an SDK, we use that SDK.
What is an SDK?
The system development kit. So that explains they'll have maybe an API, that's application programming interface, and that allows you to then call it and maybe update data in the database. Pulling
is that
data,
an additional layer of security?
absolutely,
Rather than direct updates?
It's not only the security; it's the data, the integrity of the data.
Okay,
And that is
guaranteed.
You have to look after the integrity of the data of a customer. I mean, that is foremost. Pulling the data, we've got a team of report writers. They get to know the product's database so well that we don't even use the interfaces to pull the data, because that is, you're not updating tables. We're able to pull that data and write very sophisticated reports. And we use state-of-the-art reporting tools that's out on the market. Everybody can get access to them. We recommend a tool for them, and we write those reports using those tools. Those reports are then version controlled. So if you're getting data and there's suddenly something wrong with your data, you know that it's either a bug or there's a version that's gone.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's better control over your data and your information coming out, but it is reliant on the information going in.
That single version of the truth.
That single version of the truth.
Okay, so I'm listening to this thing and I'm saying to myself, I've got 20 spreadsheets here that various people are using. 3 of them actually were ill during COVID. It was a dreadful time in my business. I've probably got to be thinking of doing something about this.
Yes.
Dave makes a lot of sense. What's my next step?
Well, you need to identify if you have those Excel spreadsheets. If you're waking up at night and wondering if Mr. X is going to be okay tomorrow, then you should start looking at your ERP system. If you don't have one, you should start looking to maybe move on to an ERP system. And
How do you help me in that journey?
well, we've got a team of consultants that we send on site.
Yes.
They have a look at your current processes. They walk through your process, and we then look at products out on the market, and we decide this will be a good fit. We'll come and present it to you. We look at your budget when we look at these products. So you tell us we can spend X, and depending on that, you can get a Ferrari or you can get a 4x4. If you're going to require a Ferrari, then you're going to have to go that route. But if you just require a 4x4 that's just going to do your job for you, then go for that. And then go for it standard. Don't go with all the bells and whistles, because you're going to grow with your product.
Okay.
You're going to evolve with your product, and and that is also one of the important factors of picking a product is, does it have scalability?
Okay.
Will it go, or are you going to get to a point where your number of concurrent users, the system just slows down and comes to a halt? You end up having to reboot your server several times a day just to try and get you through a business day. That's not scalable. Pick a system that's going to allow you for growth long term.
With your business.
Because buying an ERP is not just costly in terms of monetary, it is painful to implement. And you don't want to have to go through that pain in the next 5 years, because you've outgrown your system.
Yes. So it's always painful to implement new systems and to move away from old systems.
Absolutely.
I'm assuming your team is well qualified for the task.
Absolute. And we follow our methodology, and our methodology covers people, processes, and systems. It's known as the 3 degrees.
Okay.
And 3 degrees of freedom. You might not, there's always change. One system, although it has a capturing screen that captures accounts payable, the other system's account payable screen looks quite different. So there is a bit of training over there. There is something to get used to.
Yes.
So there's always that people side of it, change management. And then processes, changing a system. Why keep your old processes if they sluggish? Or why take 5 steps to get to a point where you could maybe take 2 steps?
So this
so look at the process re-engineering part of it.
Yes, that your team can assist with.
Absolute.
Okay. You'll have a look at what you do, and then your team, and I understand they're well qualified engineering people.
Yes, industrial engineers,
Yes.
accountants. And then I have a team of developers, software developers. We develop in the latest technologies, try to keep abreast with that.
This team looks at what I do and how I do it, and may recommend that actually there's 5 steps here and we can do this in 3. And while you're changing the software, that's what we should be doing. Make your business processes more effective and reflect that in the way the system works.
Exactly.
Okay. So you've got a team of people that can help. If somebody's listening to this and watching this, and they're identifying with the stuff we spoke about earlier on, they're going to give you a contact. And Dalian, I understand those contact details will be on this video.
Absolutely, they will be on the video, so you can just click on that. And I want to ask another question.
Yes, for sure.
Month end is always an interesting thing, especially around larger organizations, also in smaller organizations. We know that there's a board meeting, and you need a board pack to prepare for that. What, if you can give us an example of maybe a story that you heard month end with businesses. What happens if I have 20 or 10 Excel spreadsheets and I don't have one version of the truth?
Well, that's where over a period of a week, these guys have to pull this data into spreadsheets, run it through pivotal tables, and massage it with formulas. And what we've seen out there, it can take up to 5 days before, and that's with your accounts department having to now happily have to do their day job, but plus now I have to prepare these reports.
So it's extra pressure, and
extra
we
pressure.
love month end for that reason.
And month end is where you have to try and get everything in before you do your month end, so the pressure is on, absolutely.
And how true is the reflection then if I get asked a question on a board level of
How accurate is your data?
accurate, or just forecasting, etc., and problems that arise from that?
Well, we spoke to one of our customers just now, recently, and he was saying that he can't accurately say to his board that these figures are the truth. So they're close to the truth, but whether they're 100% the truth, he's not going to say it is. So no, it
And
is
then you have
scary
to make decisions on that
on
level.
that. On that.
Very scary. Thanks for that, Dave. Appreciate it. Sure.
Okay, Dave, I think that's been a good chat. It's always nice talking to you. And
Thank
thanks
you,
to
Errol.
Leon for the opportunity to be here today. And I'm sure we're going to have more of these discussions going forward. There's a lot to consider, and I think my experience is that companies that have bought a system and simply manage to survive by building more Excel need the type of assistance you and your team offer in order to make sensible decisions about being effective and sustainable in their businesses. It's their responsibility to do that, I think, because they have to do everything they can to minimize risk. Mitigate risk.
Absolutely. And to get that information accurate and on time. Yeah,
Single version of the truth.
Almost real time is preferred. Sometimes it's not always possible. Somebody might be off sick and they aren't able to capture your GRNs for that day. But hopefully it's all real time. So as things are happening, they're getting captured into the system. As they're getting captured into the system, you're able to pull that data and report on it.
Good.
Just before we close off, we've had so many interactions with businesses in the last couple of months of people asking, so where is iPlan? Are they in South Africa, or is it a global-based organization? Do they know South African business or only global? If you can maybe just expand on that, where are you and what do you know about this market and global markets?
Well, my team, we concentrate on South Africa. We're a distributor for one of the ERP vendors, and but we have a team. We have other teams within the company that have international exposure, and as we speak now, we have quite a few of our consultants over in the US and in the UK. And so we have got, our consultants have got a very broad international knowledge.
Right, and South African knowledge.
And South African knowledge.
I think very important. And
many years in South Africa. iPlan's been running for 20 years. We've been implementing ERP for 18 years. And the guys are experienced in that. We've got a proper methodology we follow that was written over a number of years by the founder of the company, Dr. Aubrey Pienaar. And we follow that methodology to a T. It's proven, and it's helped us out by following it.
And Dave, if I may also then just ask, so how many South African customers does your division have?
Well, between my division and the support division, we have in excess of 50 that we look after with our product.
Okay,
great.
That's impressive.
Well, thank you, Dave. Errol, thank you.
Thank you,
and
Dalian.
we're looking forward to the next conversation. Thank you,
Looking forward
guys.
to it. Thank you,
very
Dalian.
much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Errol.
Dave.